Alright, and I'm kind of new to this, definitely, but I'm gonna do some previews of the enclosures that I've built and put together and put them up, so I can get some people's opinions on them. Especially you, Tom. You gave me the idea to just do this, and I really don't see why not, so I'll just go for it. I'll start with the Exoterra Nano, which I had heard warnings about, but I got such a good deal at the expo that I couldn't not get it. The whole tank and plus substrate and plants and a bunch of other things, and I paid $22, so can't really complain. And in it right now, open the door to get a better look at her. She's kind of made a mess of it, and it was nicer. So she filled in her water dish again and got rid of the liner. You see the Costa Rican zebra, which turns out to be one of the rare blue types, as you can see. Pretty stunning. Her whole underside is like a Belfori. It's like the white beige, and you can see that going around the carapace and around the fangs. Got really, really lucky with her. Probably about 3.5 maybe inches. Definitely not full grown. And custom plexiglass top that I can take on or off depending on the weather. Pretty simple. Close that up. And this is just a little corner fish tank from Walmart that I use for my cricket enclosure for when I keep them. Load them up with vegetables and stuff like that before feeding them. Nothing special there. This will seem familiar. Little container from Walmart. I also, like, you go to like Family Dollar or whatever, you can buy these packages of these little felt pads, and it'll make it so whenever you're setting stuff down, you don't get that bump or scrape, which we know how sensitive they can be sometimes. There's some hot glued fake plants, some nice cocoa substrate, some wood from the show. I build each of my enclosures specifically to the spider going in. Little thermometer, elevated water dish in the corner. I really like that concept, using that. May not be able to see her that well, but in here is the Venezuelan sun tiger. She's got great colors. She had just freshly molted when I got her, but that's the one that's missing the legs, and actually you can see right there the legs are gone. Still surprisingly fast for a tarantula that's missing a quarter of its legs. Alright, moving on. Move over here. This is just a little simple fish tank. I'm going to convert those ones into this one though, and I'm going to use this cool little setup and turn that into an enclosure. And we've got my little 2.5 gallon here. My own little design here on the plastic piece that, depending on the weather, whether it's colder or hotter, I can lower it or raise this plastic piece to control the airflow and the ventilation for the humidity. And you're probably not going to see her. Well, maybe a little bit. But down in there is a little juvenile emperor scorpion I got lucky with. At Petco, no doubt. I had gone there to look at a Brachypelma apulosum, a curly hair. I believe I have that right. And it was way more than what they wanted it, than they told me over the phone, and not really worth paying for it. But then they had this guy, and it was marked down on a mess up for a different species, but they had to sell it to me as it was advertised, so I only paid $30 for it. Pretty cool. And as you can see by the whole enclosure here, water dish in behind. Put together this little rock cave formation for her, and then she dug it out and made this whole little cavern underneath it, which is pretty cool. Little thermometer. Nothing too crazy. We're moving over here. Actually, the RC custom hovercrafts. I'll be looking to get rid of a lot of my custom RCs because I'm not really into that as much as I used to be. But now we've got the CU Pubescent, or the green bottle blue. Also newer. Let's see if we can find her. Oh yeah, she's right up top on the other side. There's a little cork bark and some moss and one little fake plant. She's already started webbing. I actually just transferred her in this the day before yesterday. She was in one that she came in much smaller, and this won't be her permanent enclosure, but it's good for now because she needs to have it drier than the other species. Yeah, there she is. Very nice species from arachnid. They were absolutely great. Amazing specimens, probably some of the best in the show, not just for quality but for price and their customer service and how they presented it. I'll just pop the top just so you can see. And that goes right down in there. So she has like a little cave to go into. I've kind of used that concept with most of the enclosures, with the exception of the arboreals or the Pisoteria, but that has a completely custom enclosure. Well, they pretty much all are custom, really, but these ones have my two pink toes in it. One is a Goliath, which is this one here, and this one is, I believe, the Guyana. It's the one that has the bright red tiger stripes on the back. And these were Beanie Baby enclosures, or display cases, as you can see by the top here. And I just put vents on the side so they have the cross ventilation lowered from the top. That way we can still keep the humidity in there. And then a big one in the front. And these are just simple little screens, I think, for like a drain or something like that. But they have the bend tabs on the back. Seems to work really well. Smooth down all the edges so there's no rough burrs or anything, but hinges on the top. They've got homemade bark on the back that's curved so they can go down behind there, and giving them a cool little hide without taking up too much space. And they're both different. They have different plants, but they have the same similar design. I got both of these ones at the same time, but I noticed very quickly that they looked very different. Similar but different. This one here has much more brighter colors, as far as brighter blues, and on the carapace it's like a turquoise green starburst on the carapace, really nice. This one is a little, still colorful, but a little darker, and on the back it's almost like it has red wings going down the abdomen with longer hairs. I guess when they get older we'll know indefinitely. And this is my Cuban bronze. Can't really see it because it's kind of condensated. Kind of. But yeah, that had been just a piece of cork bark spun up over like that with a little fake plant, and it's turned it into this where it burrowed up and blocked off the other side where you can still see a mirror if I were to turn that around. Let me see if I can't. Yeah, well, that's a pretty good shot. Not a bad size. Very good eater. There we go. You gonna show off with the camera? And while I'll say this one's cautious, this one isn't overly skittish. Like a couple of them I've seen, I go to open the top and they'll immediately freak. But this one is pretty hardy and has not yet turned down food. Then up top, this is one of those containers from Walmart. These are awesome. In which case here, just a little simple enclosure. That's my Choco Golden Knee. It's got a nice little cave down in there. Little fake plant, just a standard setup. It seems pretty happy with it. It digs here or there, but for the most part, just kind of meanders around and waits for food. Another good find from Arachnid, and very good price too. Same thing, utilizing a little tab on the bottom so I can sit it on top, and no noise, no clicking, no clacking. This doesn't have anything in it yet, but this will be the enclosure for my really young giant Brazilian white knee. But right now she's still a little too small to transfer over. And right now I still have her in a little vial. She's getting big, and she's getting big fast though. You can see. Oh, disturbed her eating. Have a dubia nymph in there right now. And up here, still in the case that I got her from, is the Trinidad Chevron that also came from Arachnid. That's kind of like a freebie. It's a decent sized sling. Grows very quickly, very good eater. It seemed pretty comfortable in this little enclosure. I just added some ventilation to the top, and it's already got the tag on it and everything, so I just decided to leave it in this until it needs to be rehoused in something better. And then I'll build an enclosure for that. Here's one of the other really good finds that I was talking about. This is one of those Ferrero Rocher containers. Also with tabs in the bottom. And this is the one that ended up being... It's too much glare. The one that they had said was like a dwarf pink species, and you can see the pink on the legs, but the tips of the legs are bluish, and you got that very strange pattern that's bright gold on the abdomen, which turns into white tiger stripes down on the back of the abdomen, as you can see there. Gold and bronze on the carapace. Really nice specimen, especially for only 20-25 bucks. And that's the one that I found out is the Chilean bronze, which as an adult, it's got some really unique colors and features to it. I'm pretty happy with it. She's a really good girl. She likes to be climbing as much as she likes to be on the ground digging. But she's always out in the open, and I've never caught her being overly skittish or scared or anything. Always eats, always a good eater. She's never bolted on me, and I've even handled her. Very good find. And just a simple hinge on the front and some cross ventilation. And the I made a gap on down here on the bottom, which will add to the ventilation. But got to be mindful on some spiders. Obviously, a tiny sling I wouldn't put in there because it could squeeze right out of that. So that's it for that for now. And then over here, on this wall, we got a couple of isopods and millipedes, which are wild caught. Actually, you can kind of see them right there. And at least some of them. They're usually hiding pretty well, but I want to keep these on standby in case I start to have an issue with mold or something like that in a tank or an enclosure. Just throw these guys in there and they'll help bring that down. Down here you've got my two wolf spiders. One which is a tiny female here. Maybe see her. I'm not going to disturb her too much because she's actually carting an egg sac around, which is pretty cool. We'll see what happens with that. And this other one behind there is all webbed up all the way through. You can't really see her. Feeding her is interesting because as soon as I go to open that lid, she's right there, and she's about 4 times the size of the other one. Still trying to find the exact name of the species of this, but it's almost like widowish body type, true spider, but it's bright yellow tiger stripes. Can't even really see her. She's behind her web in there. And this was like some kind of, I don't know, salad container or something like that I found. Neat design for keeping the humidity in and dark. I've got the lights on right now for doing this, but it's usually much darker in here.